Kimutwa, daughter-in-law of the late Boniface Moiruri Mundarwa and the late Scholastica Wamoyo Moiruri of Mongoine, Mudithi location, Maragua division, Murang'a County. She was a beloved wife to Simon Francis Gitao Moiruri of the USA. She was a loving mother to Anne Wamoyo, Robert Moiruri, Alice Wanjira, Beatrice Wanjiko, and Gideon Mwangi. She was a mother-in-law to Caroline Moiruri, a grandmother to Prince Obama and Abigail Mimo, both of UAE. She was sister to Virginia Wanjiro Kakure, Peter Irongo, Esther Njeri, the late Susan Wanjiko, Pastor Jane Muihaki Maina, James Kimani and Jackson Joroge, sister-in-law to Javas, Elias Ndongo, Vieterina Wanjiko Mugai, Francis Njogu, the late Margaret Mirigo Wanyoike, and Salome Wairimo. Friends and relatives are meeting every day via Zoom. A memorial service will be conducted at Edwards Memorial Chapel on January 7, 2021 at Tacoma, Washington. Burial will follow thereafter at Gethsemane Cemetery at 2 p.m. where she will be laid to rest.
Ni wangapi niambie walitembea juu ya maji.
Turn your 50 bob into a million shilling investment. Changamka and Shindagari Chap Chap with Hometel. There's millions in shillings worth of prizes to be won. Send your 50 bob to paybill number 4040153 and get a chance to win 20,000 shillings daily. And each week, one person gets a chance to walk away with a Mazda Demio and another a Beth Mobility motorbike. Remember, the more times you try, you could be the winner of a fantastic Toyota Prado. Do not be left out. Send 50 shillings to paybill number 4040153. Account name Lookup TV and get yourself a Hometel lucky number. Changamka and Shindagari Chap Chap with Hometel promotion. For more information, visit www.shindagari.co.ke. Terms and conditions apply.
Je, ungependa kujua jinsi ninavyojizuia kuambukizwa au kuambukizana virusi vya corona? Ni rahisi. Mwanzo, ninaziendesha shughuli zangu zote za kikazi na hata za kibiashara kutoka papa hapa nyumbani kwangu. Baadaye, ninaitunza mwili wangu vyema kwa kuiweka katika hali iliyo sawa kupitia mazoezi ya mara kwa mara na pia lishe bora. Mwishowe, ninaungana na jamii yangu pamoja na marafiki zangu kupitia njia ya simu au mtandao ili kuzuia dhiki na upweke wakati huu mgumu. Kumbuka, haijalishi kama uko na virusi vya corona au la, salia nyumbani, uokoe maisha.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you.
Virtual learning has been ongoing for the last many months up until now when schools are ready to reopen, and the doors have been opened for all the students now to go back to school. However, We have parents who are still not comfortable and students who still feel they're not ready to go back to school. Maybe psychologically they're not prepared. For parents, maybe it's financial status that, they're not ready to go back to school. But the government has insisted that each and every child must go back to school. Despite all the measures and reassurance from the government, which include hand washing, social distancing, temperature checks, most of them still remain adamant. Today, I'm very privileged to have with me in studio a psychologist, a preacher, and an author by the name of Namura Love. She has graced our studios this night, and she's going to shed more light on what it is like to go back to school in the midst of a pandemic. Welcome to the studio, Liz. We are glad to have you here. And maybe you'll start by telling us something, a little bit about yourself.
Okay. All right. My name is, she said, is Elizabeth Love, or Liz Love. And I'm mother of two, a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. And both of them are at school. I'm a preacher by calling, and psychologist. That's what I have studied. And so I want to thank you for having me in the studio today. And as we entrench on this topic, I'm sure we are going to shed more light and allow our parents and the students and even the teachers to be more confident as we undertake this going back to school. Thank you very much.
Karibu sana. Now, maybe my first question to you would be, what is your take on kids going back to school amidst the pandemic?
I think that for me, I believe that they need to go back to school. Let me mention that I don't live here. I live in the US, and so our students or our pupils have been back to school for a long time, and there are benefits to that. The only maybe difference that I would say is that even when there is an option to go back to school in the US, there has been an option for people to still do online. And so it's both, but my children, they go on site to school. So I'm for going back to school. I think it has more benefits than when people are at home and even doing online sometimes, because when it's online, you still have to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do, and we have parents who have to work. And so I think that there are more benefits if you ask me for them to go back to school.
Okay. As you've mentioned, because my next question probably will merge with what you've just talked about, the impact of staying at home.
Yes.
For parents, the students, and the teachers.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think has been the impact, positive or negative, on this staying at home?
Okay. I think I've been here for about a month now, and I've interacted with a whole lot of students. And one of the things that I would say, on a normal, basis, for any person to be at home without those rules that we have at school, your mind changes. If you stay for an extended time, your mind changes. You're not used to, teachers, bells or teachers telling you what time to do this. I think, there has been that impact. They haven't had the structured learning way, being at home. And also, when you're at home, you're bound to do the stuff that you need to do at home. Some people have land that has to be tilled, and cows that have to be fed, and all that kind of stuff. And so it's like they have really, because of the extent of time or the long time they've been out, a lot of them have gone to another mindset altogether, where you wake up in the morning and you go to the land or to till the land, and and that's your life. And so education is on the backside, and we need to pay attention to that. Yeah.
So psychologically, exactly how does it, is that how psychologically you think it affects them?
Yes, I do believe that it, we have to pay attention, or teachers and even parents, we all have to pay attention to the fact that the education is at the backside, and so we are bringing it back to them after such a long time. So what I think needs to happen is for the teachers to have the patience, to understand that, this person, maybe they were waking up maybe at around 9, whereas, at school we need to wake up maybe at 6 or 7. We have to pay attention to those kind of things and be very patient with these students as we bring their mind back to learning and to understanding. Now we are back to school, their rules, their structures. So I feel in my heart that, this time around, we really have to speak out to the teachers, to not look at these people as being defiant or, just being resistant, but it's a whole mindset that needs to be taken, slowly by slowly, for the students to get back to, being what we know a student is able to do. And there are other, I believe, and we had covered that topic another time in a different forum, where we know that because of the exposure that many people have had out there, and with all the phones and all the internet, there has been other things, negative stuff that has happened to our students. Some of them are going to maybe be pregnant or even have given birth, and they have to go back to school. And so what I believe is that we really need to help them, because they've already gone through something maybe I would say traumatic, and now they have to either be expelled, or somebody decides not to understand them and treats them differently. If they do that, it's going to be more suffering, and it's going to be bad for our society. But if we just decide, okay, this person, whatever happened, if they're pregnant, we really need to be able to help them come back to school. Because if you do that, you're not only going to help the mom, you're going to even help the baby and the family at large. And so I think all these kind of things, we need to put them into consideration as we are going back into this new semester.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But now when we talk about, you've just talked about the students, the impact staying at home has had on them.
Yes.
But we forget the teachers.
Yes.
Are also supposed to be taken care of.
Yes.
In terms of, so when we say we expect teachers to do A, B, C, D,
yes,
are we also thinking about what they've gone through, their
yes,
parents?
Yes, yes.
They've had salary cuts, they've had job losses. Who takes care of them psychologically, emotionally, all that turmoil that they're going through? Who takes care of them? We expect so much from them.
No.
Who takes care of them?
I think I wouldn't say, categorically, and I wish I would be able to say that the government needs to take care of that, like to provide like counseling setups where, our teachers can go and get some counsel and, just talk to somebody else outside of, the normal society that expects you to talk and to be strong. I think they need to have that. But I know that may not be very, very clear or given out to every teacher. But I'm calling upon the churches, provide for these services if you can. Have seminars for the teachers where they can talk about, what are our hard off, like what are our challenges, what can we educate each other on. I think a certain program needs to be there for the teachers, either geared by the government. If the government does it, the better, or the churches, where we can have, they are called support groups, because we may not have a counselor who is going to cater for all the teachers, but if the teachers come together, they are able to help one another, be able to know what are the challenges we are facing in our schools, what can you say that can help me in different schools. So I think there needs to be some programs that are going to support our teachers, by all means.
By all means. Great. Now, when during this pandemic again, and the kids who are not in school, since we're talking about back in school during the pandemic,
yes,
we had, like in July, we had an upsurge of teens pregnancy.
Yes.
Do you think it's only the COVID-19 that is to blame for this, or is there more to this kind of upsurge in terms of the teens' pregnancy? Because it was really, it was all over news.
Yes, I think that's why we had talked about it in the other forum
exactly.
that I was in.
Yeah. Do you think it's just about the COVID pandemic, or is there more to it than just the COVID?
Personally, what I think is that we have issues that we normally don't like to talk about, issues that happen within families, confinements, because most of the people who or many of the people who got pregnant, you'll be surprised that some of them is by their family members, people that are supposed to be taking care of you, or maybe even a neighbor who is supposed to be a friend, a person who would be taking care of you, but actually taking advantage of you. And so those are issues that I believe have been there before the COVID, but in little, not in a big scale. But right now, because of the COVID and the time and the internet, it's like it was just something that has boiled to the climax where, it's almost like, you can talk to a girl at any given time. Before now, and people have taken advantage of the kids, neighbors and family members, but it used to be until I speak to you. You physically. But now we have the internet. We have, you just need to exchange a phone number, and these people can talk, throughout the night when the parents think that, the boy is sleeping or the girl is sleeping. And so it has been just a mixture of so many things that have come together to produce something just devastating. And so one thing that I want to say, even now, we don't need to victimize these children anymore than maybe the situation has victimized them, because they are young minds. It is said until you're probably about 19 years old, past 19, your brain has not gotten to a point where it thinks about consequences. And so what happens is that when they are just lovey-doving each other and talking about I don't know what, and even older men taking advantage of younger, kids or younger ladies or girls who don't have that mind developed yet, they are victim. And so as a parent, I know, they feel bad, they feel upset, they feel hurt, and they want to hurt the child, because they feel, you should have thought better. But I believe that, that's just victimizing them a second time. And so to me, I believe that we need to be supportive. Not to accept that what happened is good, but really to support this person and just know, what, your life doesn't have to end here just because you're pregnant. And so I think it's not just because of the COVID, but I think COVID just brought a situation that has been there for a long time, because I know there are many people who have stories about how somebody took advantage of them. I can say that I've come through something called incest. So these are things that people don't like to talk about, but they are real and they're happening. But COVID just brought everything to surface. And so I think we also need to have, a lot of support, a lot of counseling for these young men and young women, because even the boys, they're still doing things and they don't know what the consequences of what they're doing right now. And so we need to, I believe that school is going to help. For me, I believe that they need to go back to school and get busy, but we need to actually just allow even that, pregnant girl to, go back, give all the support that you can, and just know that, like the question was COVID the cause? I don't believe it is the cause, but I think it was, it just fueled what has already been happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how it is like in the US in terms of sex education, because here it is not all out. It's not there really. I think it's almost like a taboo.
Yes.
Probably even in schools.
Yes.
I don't know if having the sex education would have helped, since we're on this topic of teens pregnancy. Do you think that would come in as a way of helping in such a situation?
I do know that it's good to know things, but at the same time know them at the appropriate age. Are you saying that it would have helped if they had been having sex education to avoid what has happened? I would say to a great extent, maybe yes. A lot of things that happen when you don't know, and actually let me just touch on the word of God, say that my people perish for lack of knowledge. When you don't know something, and I think a whole lot of us would bear witness that we didn't know much until maybe somebody had touched you or something, and you realize, oh, this can happen. We never used to have those topics during my time, and I still believe that even to this day, it's a hard topic to talk about. But I do believe that people need to be aware what can happen if you engage in sex. And it doesn't even matter, it doesn't matter whether it's a family member or not. When you engage in sex, there are some things that happen, and those consequences nobody wants to face. But if you don't know it and you're being asked to bear the consequences of what you didn't even know, it's not fair. So I would say that, I don't think we can blame ourselves for not doing that because it's a culture, but we need to lean on to, having, talking about this stuff. We need to stop the fear and the stigma of talking about sex to our children. And there is a time that you see it very clearly at some point when something is developing in them, like, the girls, when they're starting to have, those little stuff on the, you talk about it, just have an open mind. And that's what I do with my little ones. I do talk to them about sex. Nobody talked to me about it. But, it's my responsibility to really teach them, and I don't know whether I'm doing the very best, but I have, I believe that there are benefits to talk about it, even at school. And also, like in the US, they do talk about it. At a certain age, yes, they do. They will teach them about, a girl's reproductive system by the time I believe it's in grade 6. I want to say it's in grade 6, but they have to ask the consent of the parents. Some parents will say yes, and some parents will say no. But at the time that they started talking about it, when my daughter came and told me they are going to talk about that, afterward I took advantage. So what did you talk about? And as she explains to me what they did, then I add on to what I think she needs to know. So I believe there are very great benefits of talking about sex. But if we have not done it in the past, we can start. We don't have to, blame ourselves and say that we should have done better. Yes, we should have, but we didn't. So, but can we, from this moment on, just put those things into maybe the programs in school? Of course, we have to have the consent of parents, because culture is very, very strong. And it's something that we also need to respect. So that's my take on it.
Okay. Now, since let's go back to the classroom.
Yes.
Our CS, Professor Magoha, has said that learning must go on. Either way, we have no way out. Even if it means learning under trees,
yes,
we have to go back to class. What do you think that would do to a child? Leave alone the class 8 who would understand, the little ones who, what would that do to them?
I believe that communication is key. We are in this situation because of COVID-19. And even the little ones need to understand that there is this, pandemic, there is this disease, and we don't want to pass it on to other people, and that's why we have to have social distancing, we have to wash our hands frequently. But now the main thing is to do that over and over and over and over again. Okay, if in case we have to go under the trees, I do believe that if we continue to communicate that why we are doing it, it's going to be possible. And actually the whole idea, to me, the whole idea of them going under a tree is actually amazing. It's like an adventure, though the teacher will have a hard time, you know, trying to keep them together.
Yes.
But the whole thing about communicate, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And don't, as teachers, don't get tired. And don't think maybe because, you know, some students are still thinking, okay, why are we going under the tree? You know, being inquisitive, don't hold it against them. Just communicate as much as you can until they can get it. You know, I had some, you know, kids saying that, you know, we will be blaming everything on coronavirus. So it's because everything they have had, we cannot go to your uncle because of coronavirus. You have to wear your mask because of coronavirus. It's like in their mind, it's like everything is coronavirus, whether it's good or bad. But my thing is communicate. Going under the tree is not bad in itself. And I'm thinking maybe because they will need to have a fewer students in maybe in a classroom than normal, so they will have another group going outside, maybe at a tree. You know, all these things, they need to be brought together in a way that, you know, if that has to be the case, then some students who are in class 1 week, they can go outside the following week. But it's not like at least some people are permanently in class and then others are permanently under the tree. I think there needs to be a lot of you know, strategies that, you know, have to be brought into books. So I think as teachers, you know, different teachers in different schools, they'll have to decide what is the option for them to have a fewer students maybe in class. Some people use the dining room, like in my, you know, my daughter's situation, they use the dining room. So some people are always in the dining room and where others are in class, but they exchange. They have different exchanges. So I think that is something that the schools can come up with and just make sure that, you know, we are having learning. You know, and everybody would have to understand. It is so important for them to learn. So however, if you have to learn under a tree, you know, as long as the teacher is explaining to them, this is why we are under the tree, I think it is going to work.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the learning under the tree. Then we have a very long term, like this first term, we call it semester, where you come from. It's pretty long for them.
It's going to be how many?
I think about 4 months now. This will be longer, just to try and probably catch up with what they missed out on.
Yes.
Yeah, so all this, as much as we're trying to talk to these children, as a psychologist, what's your take?
I do believe it's going to be something, but I hope that they will give them some breaks in between, you know, because I know for us, we go through all that. Like our semesters are just 2 in a year. So it's like 4 months. They go from January to around, actually it's not like it is 5 months. They go from January to May. And so what they do is that they do have some breaks, just a break in between. And but I know when it is something new, it's going to have to take a lot of, you know, talking, you know, people deliberating on you know, the need for them to learn. So it might be a long time, but it is going to be, at the end of the day, it's for their benefits. So communication all the way through, and they will make it, and we'll keep them, you know, prayed up. Yes. Yeah,
because I know we have you know, countries or places where they have this staggering concept of others come at this time, others at that time. Don't you think that's a better way of maybe we'd have handled it that way, the staggering concept?
Okay, personally, no.
Yeah?
Personally, no. Because I think after a long stretch of being outside, I don't think so. If you keep breaking them so quick, I don't know that it's going to be any beneficial. So for me, I think that the long time that they're going to be in school, it's going to be quite a long bit. But I think owing to the fact that they had been out for so long, they actually need that long time to be in school for their mind to come back. So that by the next semester, you know, it's going to be shorter and shorter, and then we go back to the normal, you know, semesters or terms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dear viewer, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a very short break, but we'll be right back with Liz to tell us more on a book she's written on rejection and much more, so that we get to know even these kids or teachers or parents who are feeling rejected, how can they cope with this even during the corona pandemic. We'll be right back.
Turn your 50 bob into a million shilling investment. Changamka and Shindagari Chap Chap with Hometel. There's millions in shillings worth of prizes to be won. Send your 50 bob to paybill number 4040153 and get a chance to win 20,000 shillings daily. And each week, one person gets a chance to walk away with a Mazda Demio and another a Beth Mobility motorbike. Remember, the more times you try, you could be the winner of a fantastic Toyota Prado. Do not be left out. Send 50 shillings to paybill number 4040153, account name Lookup TV, and get yourself a Hometel lucky number. Changamka and Shindagari Chap Chap with Hometel promotion. For more information, visit www.shindagari.co.ke. Terms and conditions apply.
Ni wangapi niambie walitembea juu ya maji.
Are you willing to pay the price for success?
Movement isn't progress, but progress requires movement. We have believers today who want 24 hours miracle, who wants 24 hours success, who want fast food victory.
And curry is a thickener. I don't know if you know that. It is a thickener and also a flavor for soup or stew.
Are you afraid of aging?
I believe in long life. So I know that as I'm growing older, I'm achieving more.
Okay, well, the easiest answer would be, yeah, of course you can have it all. If you want it all, you're going to have it all. But you're going to pay the price.
A woman is created to be when she is privileged to be in leadership.
In this life, we all walk through loss, heartache, and disappointments.
Our eyes are opened, our ears are opened, our hearts are opened, our minds are open, so that God can speak to us directly.
God is with us every step of the way.
So when you see how they were transformed through their relationship with Jesus, their encounters with God, it changes me.
Je, ungependa kujua jinsi ninavyojizuia kuambukizwa au kuambukizana virusi vya korona? Ni rahisi. Mwanzo, ninaziendesha shughuli zangu zote za kikazi na hata za kibiashara kutoka papa hapa nyumbani kwangu. Baadaye, ninaitunza mwili wangu vyema kwa kuiweka katika hali iliyo sawa kupitia mazoezi ya mara kwa mara na pia lishe bora. Mwishowe, ninaungana na jamii yangu pamoja na marafiki zangu kupitia njia ya simu au mtandao ili kuzuia dhiki na upweke wakati huu mgumu. Kumbuka, haijalishi kama uko na virusi vya korona au la, salia nyumbani, uokoe maisha.
Welcome back to our discussion on the Week in Focus, and with me still in studio is Liz Namura Love, who is going to talk to us more about getting back to school in the COVID period. Now, Liz, you're going to tell us now about your book. You're an author.
Yes.
You had mentioned you're an author.
Yes.
Would you kindly touch a bit on the book?
Okay. So thank you again for having me on the show. The book that I've written is called Behind the Curtain, God is Working for You. And I feel that somehow God was preparing me to give the message in the midst of the COVID-19, because I had this strong understanding that I needed to release the book in December of 2019. And so I released it, and then it was really like the final publication was in January of 2020. And so the message underneath is that even when things are happening that are so difficult, that are so bad, that sometimes, bring us to the verge of even death, that God is still working something amazing outside of that. And so I've spoken about the story of Joseph and the kind of stuff that he went through for him to ever been able to bring about the dreams, or the dreams to be accomplished that God had given him at the age of about 17. I believe he was 17 years old by the time he was getting the dreams. But he had to travel through so much. He had to go through such great rejection to a point of, the brothers wanted to kill him. And sometimes we get through, we get to things that are, like bringing death to us on our face, like the COVID-19. Some people have gotten through it, and even some people have passed on. But it's a thing that has come to the world. It's like a darkness, a great darkness that has come to the world. Nobody in this world can say that they have not had a little bit of consequences of COVID-19. Yet in this, God is doing something. Because he's a loving God, he's doing something that will bring a greater, a greater light into each one of us' life. And so that is what I believe, that even through all this, that we are talking about going back to school and the challenges that are there. To me, I do believe that in the midst of all these challenges, something amazing is going to come out of it. Some of the people that we are talking about, because I get so touched by the teenage pregnancies and the level at which it surged, I still believe that the destiny of these children is going to be so amazing that, somebody may have, even maybe a parent may have felt like, you've let me down and I don't want anything to do with you, but I'm just urging somebody, just give them another chance. Give somebody another chance, and you will see what was meant to be evil is going to actually bring so much light into our society. And so I feel that we need to understand that this thing is not gonna destroy us, but it is going to, in the midst of all the pain, all the suffering, something amazing is coming up. And so I believe in this 2021 it's going to be amazing. And instead of looking at situations always as negative, as bad, as they're saying that we go back to school, how is it gonna be, instead of always looking at the negative side of it, I feel like my life, the way God has shown me, is that I need to let people know there is the light that we can see if we pay more attention. There is a light that says, what, even in the midst of all this, something amazing is going to happen. And instead of being so opposed to what maybe the government is saying, to what some people are thinking that this is the way we should go about it, instead of doing that, you just allow yourself, let's see what is going to happen. Let's give it a chance, because like you was talking about long semester, and the more I think about it, the more I know that it's going to work for them, because they have had a long time outside, and so they need that duration of time for them to just bring their mind back to school. So I mean, just always looking at the glass half full, not half empty. It all depends on the mindset. And so this book is about that, just challenging people's mindset. You don't have to look at it this way, because surely behind all that, God is doing something. And I can explain something just real quick about Joseph when he was being sold by the brothers. I always used to think, okay, these guys are just so bad. They're so evil. I mean, who does that? That's your brother you're selling. Until God showed me that, neither of them, not even Joseph, understood that, he needed to go to Egypt, because his dream would never come true if he stayed in Canaan. because there was not the infrastructure that was needed for them to be able to sustain a famine of 7 years. And so Joseph needed to go, and he didn't know the way to Egypt. And so when he's being rejected, actually God was he was actually being ushered to the place where his dreams would come true. And so even right now, instead of just being so negative or opposed to what is going on, even though it may be challenging, even though it may be painful, even though it may demand so much from you, just go for it, and you'll be amazed what God has in store. So I believe that he has a greatness in our students. That much I do believe. And it's going to be well. It's been a challenging, tough year for them, and it's going to be well.
So they still have a purpose in life.
Oh, I do believe in it completely.
Yeah.
I do believe in it completely. And, you know, I think it is challenging not only the teachers and even the parents more so, you know, to know that, you know, whatever has happened, whether your girl or your boy has been, you know, looking like they don't seem like they understand what they are doing, I want to challenge the parents to just, you know, be on arms to support the students, and we shall see what the society will be. Whatever, you know, the enemy has meant for evil, it's going to turn around for good if all of us are going to be on board to see that.
Now, as we were talking off camera at some point, I was asking you, as a parent, you know, with, say, I have a little person at home and they're going to school. You know, we normally probably pack some snacks and all that. My concern would be, I'm trying to protect my child, the mask, the hand washing, but when they get to school, there's the sharing. Oh, so and so, do you want? Also, I want to test yours, you test mine. How do you get, you know, now child psychology there? What happens? Because they have to share. That's how big kids are. How do you control that?
Let's put the word, they don't have to. Yeah, we have to change. You know, this COVID thing, it has changed our vocabularies. You know, the things that we used to say, it has to be this way. We have come to know it don't have to be that way. You know, at a certain point, you know, the church was closed. You know, the one institution that personally I thought nobody can close. And we had to be at home for quite a minute. And so the things that people say, we have to do this way. Even with our children, they need to understand we don't have to do it that way. I know sharing is a good thing, and and I believe that this is going to be such a great challenge to the teachers, because they'll have to keep reminding these little ones, okay, I know you want to share with your friends, and sharing is good, but right now, because of COVID-19, communication, COVID-19, we are not going to be able to do that, because we want you to remain safe and we want this other person to remain safe. So, you know, what I would say, I have an 8-year-old, and she's that kind of a person who likes to share. And so when she went back to school, you know, the teacher had to keep telling them, no, we cannot do this. It's a good thing, but we can't do it at this particular time because of what is happening. And so, you know, you just keep at it. Don't get upset with these students. Don't get upset with those little kids, because they may seem to be, you know, like they're not understanding or they're not listening to you. That's not what is happening. There are people, or there are little kids who have the nature of giving, and so they like to share. So as I would call upon the teachers, you know, just to be mindful that they're not being defiant, they're not, you know, trying to do that. They just think that sharing is what they need to do, but you need to remind them, we are not going to be able to do this. We are not going to be able to do this. This is a good thing, but we are not doing it now. So I think communication, we just have to keep on top of it.
Okay. Earlier we had talked about some of the challenges that, you know, the students have gone through, pupils, which was teen pregnancy.
Yes.
We also have an issue, I think, substance abuse. Now you have this child who's already gotten into addiction.
Yes.
All right. And so now they're going back to school. How do you handle such a case?
You know, there's some cases that I do believe that they will have to have professional help, because when you're talking about addiction, that is something that, you know, it's going to be above the level of a teacher, what the teacher can handle, and it's not going to be fair to try and bring somebody who has an addiction to school. I want to imagine that if the parents know that, you know, my child is addicted, they need to start, or at least they need to provide that care for them. They need to take them to a counselor before they go back to school. And so actually that needs to be looked into very much, because it can create a bigger problem than, you know, just one person being addicted. Because addiction, any person who is addicted, they like to, somehow they like to find a way of finding what they're addicted to. And so they can do anything to get it. And so you don't want to do that to you know, other students. And my take would be, don't take a child to school if they have any kind of addiction. Don't bring that. The teachers are not prepared for that. They can't handle it, I don't think. So if you know your child is addicted to anything, just keep them at home, look for some help, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, because I think as I was talking to someone this morning, someone called me, they had an issue with a 17-year-old who's already into substance abuse, and they feel like he must go to school. Reason being, the more he stays home, the more he engages in. So she says, I'm taking my kid to school, and I'll be in touch with the teachers, because there he's confined, so he can't get the substance.
That's going to be tough. That one I can say, because I've seen addiction. Yeah, I have a family member who is in addiction, and I know what they think to a great extent. So I don't know whether you want to subject other people to that. I do not know. Personally, I would think that it would be better for them to seek professional help, and for this person to really, you know, even if they have to go back to school, that they have that professional help first, so that it is known that we are dealing with this kind of a student in this way. Otherwise, it's going to be a mess, because they do figure out how to get what they want. And sometimes they do crazy stuff, and you don't want other students to learn that. So that's my take on it. If you know that your student is addicted, please, by all means, look for some professional help. I believe it is hard. We are dealing with that as a family. And you know, it's not an easy journey, but you don't want to really have other people, you know, who are not prepared for it, to deal with it. I think we can do it another way. So I would advise your friend, you know, to seek professional counsel first, before they decide that that's what they really need to do. And I do understand that point of saying, you know, they're confined, but addiction has no confinement. Addiction is something very serious. If you know they're addicted, somebody can be drinking a few here and there, but if they're addicted, you're dealing with another thing altogether. And so I don't think that you want to take that to a teacher. It's not fair. They're already having to deal with so much on top of somebody else who is addicted, and you know, at times they feel that they cannot. An addiction tells you can't do without whatever it is that you're addicted to. So whether it's running out of school, whether it's stealing money from other people, you know, they will do anything to get it. So I would say, you know, just, you know, sort yourself, seek, you know, look into it, and just see what kind of a bigger problem you may be creating by taking an addicted, you know, student to school. Yeah.
Okay, now let's go back to measures of keeping COVID at bay.
Yes.
What more? We know there's hand washing, there's masking and all that. What more can be done to make it easier for students to, you know, just follow those, to make it easier for them to be safe in schools?
What me I've seen, because my children go to school, more communication than anything else, because even when you talk about, you know, keep your distance, wear your masks, they still sometimes forget. But everybody will have to work together. Okay, for my children, they go to school every day, so I drop them off every day. This is, they cannot get out of the car without a mask. and it is known across the board, you're not going to do that. And so that communication is so clear. Everywhere you go, it's like you need to have your mask on. And so these little ones, you know, they forget, they want to play, and you still tell them, no, social distancing. It has to be there. And so communication. For me, I just think that we are living at a time when we have to tell people more than, you know, more than the times that you have ever thought you need to tell somebody one thing, but keep saying it until it gets into their mind. We have to keep our masks on. We have to you know, wash our hands all the time. You know, when we are coming from recess or a break, we have to wash our hands before we go to it. Like, wash your hands all the time. They have sanitizers that they can use, you know, when there is no water, you know, close by. So those are things that you have to. All the times when, you know, in a school, you know, it's structured. So they're coming from this period to another period. You know, they need to sanitize. You need to make sure that they know that. By the time you get to this class, you put your sanitizer on and go sit down. And so communication, I believe that with everybody across the board, whether they are the little ones, of course the little ones more so, but to the older students, you have to communicate. Tell them this is not a joke. This thing is real. And so we need to keep safe. And it's about their safety. And it's about their learning. And so communication.
How about, that includes probably like the posters.
Yes, posters.
You know, putting the whatever's on the ground for them to show the distance to be kept between them.
And I've seen something else that in some places where you don't even press the water with your hands, you press it with your leg. And I think that is really something amazing. So if the schools can adopt to that, I think it's something that can be done. So we don't have so many people touching the faucet. Yeah, so I think those are some of the things that people need to think about. You know? Yeah.
Then we have teachers. Again, I'll go back to the teachers because they're big players in this in education. These teachers, some of them schools have been closed.
Yes.
Okay. And probably been turned into homes, or they're just at home.
Yes.
What happens to them? How do we help such people? And who are even probably kind of suicidal?
Yes.
How do we help them?
And that's why I'm saying this time around, I think we all need to come together and help and support in any way that we can. I don't know that the government has those places where people can go for counseling, which would be the ultimate, you know, because people need to talk. I know I have a cousin of mine who had started a school, and after the COVID, you know, the school is closed because they cannot sustain. So you can imagine the students don't have anywhere to go. She's not able to pay the teachers, so it's closed. And so she's having to really like change her life, you know, do some other business to just sustain herself. And as a teacher, you know, she feels it for her students, but there's nothing she can do. She can't have them back because she can't pay the teachers. And so I feel you when you ask, you know, what are we going to do for these people? And personally, I believe that, you know, anybody who is able to, whether it's private people who have counselors, you know, just to support, you know, it's not going to be long term, but for right now, you know, support the teachers. I do also believe that the other way we can do it is what I had mentioned, support groups for the teachers. You know, I don't know whether in, you know, here they do it a lot, but I do know that where I live, they have a whole lot of support groups, whether it's for addictions, whether it's for teachers, you know, all kinds of groups. Parents have support groups, you know, parents with special kids have support groups, you know, and that's where you can go and express yourself in a way that, you know, the other person you're talking to kind of understands your problem, and then, you know, we can have solutions, and those groups really work well. So I think that teachers need to be able to have that. We have WhatsApp. You know, you just create a WhatsApp group support for teachers, or a support group for teachers. They create their own groups, and if the representatives, the women rep or the county reps can actually help these people, just have those groups where they can meet and talk, and if there's anything that they need, if they can be supplied with, I think it would be just a little step, but a better step than just leaving them out there by themselves, because I feel that sometimes that's how it is. And so it's a lot of even people just deciding, okay, are we gonna die here with our problem, or can we do something about it? And when people are doing something about it, it's easier maybe even for the government to assist. So I think people need to create support groups in the rural areas. The schools, they are going through their own kind of problems, so they can be able to talk among themselves and see what can we do. And that way they can approach maybe their chief or whoever it is that needs to help. It's easier that way than when an individual person has to go looking for help. So
yeah. Okay. I remember you mentioned you're also a preacher.
Yes.
You preach.
Yes.
So of course the church comes in.
Yes.
How can the church work with the government how can the church contribute in making students comfortable in schools? What contribution can the church make just to ensure that the students are comfortable, the teachers, the parents?
And I think when I'm talking about even these support groups, because it takes a minute for anybody to access the government, and that is the reality of it. But when it comes to maybe they know the pastor in this local place, the local church, they know the pastor, maybe the representatives, it's easier for them to represent even the teachers or the schools. I think what I would say is that we all need to come together and know that we are in this together. We are here to support our students. We are here to support, because the more we do what we are supposed to do, the more our society becomes rich and full and with wholeness. And so I don't want to say that it is the work of the church to help the teachers or even the parents, but I do believe that if we all come together and every single institution plays its part, I think we are going to go far. If it is a pastor, let them know, you can go before a government representative and speak to them on our behalf. Because if you call one parent, they'll be asking, and who is that? So it's hard to penetrate. But maybe, because there is recognition of churches, the church can undertake some few roles and see that, our teachers are getting what they need to get, the schools are getting what they need to get, And of course, as a preacher, because you mentioned that, as a preacher, I do believe in the role of prayers. That we need to pray for our students, we need to study with them, we need to encourage them, because it's not just about just praying for them. We need to encourage them, and whenever like a church can be able to support somebody, why not? If they can support a student, why not? I'm in a group in our rural home where we help those less disadvantaged. And these are the kind of groups that I'm saying, let us all come together and know we are building our country, we know we are building our people, and that's what we need to do. The one who is able to give something.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much for honoring our invite, Liz.
Yes.
Love, we really appreciate you. Thank
Yes.
you so much for the insight and all that you've shared with us. And to our dear viewer, we want to thank you so much for giving us your time, and we hope that you'll keep interacting with us on our social media platforms. On Twitter, we'll be at Lookup TV, Facebook, Lookup TV, and you can also text us on SMS us on 20374 just to keep the conversation going. I have been your host, Sally Limo, for Lookup TV. Good evening.
Proverbs 31 woman. You are confident, immaculate. You are capable. You are intelligent. You are heaven sent. So virtuous. Such a remarkable, incredible example of how a woman should be. So godly. That's the most beautiful thing about her. She's unaffected by the negativity and the false opinions people have about her.